Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So there was a big comic link auction that just ended for 9.8 comics. So I just wanted to go over some of the more interesting sales that I saw. And a lot of big keys in the 9.8 sold. So this will give you a good idea of the fair market value for these ones in the 9.8 right now. Okay, so 25 completed listings to get through, so let's not waste too much time here. First one up is a New Mutants 98 in a newsstand edition, CGC 9.8 white pages. Ended up selling for $3,500. Yeah, and we had documented one that was in the off-white to white page on our last sort of market update video. It ended up going for $3,200 and something, I think it was. And I mentioned on that video, like a full white page one looking pretty good is going to be right around that $3,500 mark. And that's what this one ended up selling for in US dollars too, all the prices we'll talk about. But if you're the biggest Deadpool fan, this is absolutely the one to get. In the more rare newsstand edition, even better. And this one was over $4,000. You know, like, call it like 6 to 8 months ago. It was like Deadpool's coming back to the MCU. Deadpool books heated up. This one was certainly over $4,000. A few had went for. So on the pullback, I think, you know, if you're the biggest Deadpool fan, you don't have this one and you're in the market, I think you can think about buying one right around that $3,500 level is a fair value for a New Mutants 98 newsstand edition, 9.8 white pages. Next one is a Captain America Annual number 8. This one is a great cover. That's super collectible. Mike Zeck cover with Captain America versus Wolverine. Pretty limited one on the senses. Kind of not your obvious key issue. A bit of an underrated one. You know, a book that I like. I like my underrated 9.8s for sure. This one going for $600. I think, yeah, that's right around the fair value. Even though it's not a key, it's very well collected, and there's not a lot of them in the 9.8 as well. So I think $600 is a price to aim for on a Captain America Annual number 8. Such a cool cover. Okay, next one is one I do have. Saw it sell. A Batman Harley Quinn. Yeah, origin and first appearance of Harley Quinn in DC continuity. Awesome Alex Ross cover. Yeah, creepy awesome cover that for me got way better like the more I saw it. I know when I was getting back into the hobby, I was sort of new to this cover and I didn't really like it that much, but over time I now to the point that I really love it. Yeah, it's just one to kind of stare at and look at Joker's creepy face. But Batman Harley Quinn in a 9.8 white pages in this comic link auction sold for $605 US. This one's trending up quite nicely. I purchased mine about a year and a half ago for, it was just under $300. Now it's $605. You like to see that. And yeah, just such a collectible cover, I think. That's really memorable, and definitely, if you're a Harley Quinn fan, you want that first appearance in DC continuity. So a book I probably like more, to be honest, in the 9.8, saw it sell. Batman Adventures, Mad Love. Yeah, this is origin of Harley Quinn. Second overall appearance of Harley Quinn. This predates the DC continuity Harley Quinn. I really like this one. It's got the classic Bruce Timm cover, who's, you know, one of the creators of like that Batman animated series, that whole vibe. So just great to get him on the cover. And the first appearance of Harley Quinn, Batman Adventures 12. That's a great one in the 9.8, but it doesn't have Bruce Timm art. So yeah, this one's just really wantable. It's pretty rare in the 9.8 as well. But Batman Adventures Mad Love saw one sell for $469. So less than the Batman Harley Quinn. I would have thought that maybe this one would tick up over the Harley Quinn, but that doesn't seem how the market's moving nowadays. But I think this is just a great value at $469 for a Mad Love CGC 9.8. Such a cool cover that you can really enjoy having. Next one is just such a great investment grade book. It's a Black Panther number 1 in the CGC 9.8 white pages. Really nice one of these sold in this comic link auction. This one's from 1977. It's the first like ongoing Black Panther solo book, I believe. Ended up selling for $2,600. Yeah, this is one sort of pre-coronavirus. I remember it just being like a really good value. In the 9.8, it was like $900, $1,000. And then, you know, coronavirus happened. All these books really heated up. Now it's $2,600 for good reason. There's not a lot of these, and it's such a classic book. Yeah, Black Panther number 1 in the 9.8, $2,600 is, I think, a decent price to aim for if you're in the market for that one. All right, next one I got, Batman Beyond, number 1 in a 9.8. Just one of my favorite, like, modern CGC 9.8 comics to invest in, I think. I'm a huge Batman Beyond fan, just love the cartoon growing up and everything. This one's pulling back though. Yeah, you could really start thinking about grabbing this one if you're a big Batman Beyond fan. Sold for $1,899. This is one that it definitely ticked up to that sort of 2,500 range. There were a few that had went around that level. I thought that was too expensive at the time. You wanted to be patient at that time. That was probably 6 to 12 months ago now. So now cooling down a little bit, $1,899. This one's limited. It's a tough one to find. It's like the WB Kids book, so in the really high grade, it's tough to find. I think, you know, they probably threw these to the kids and the kids just beat them up and tore them up. So pretty tough to find in the high grade. The census shows that as well. And I think $1,899, pretty decent price. I've seen them lately more right around that 2,000 level. So 1,900 I think is a price target to aim for on a Batman Beyond #1 CGC 9.8 white pages. Next one I don't have, sticking with the Harley Quinn, Batman Adventures 12 in a 9.8, a direct edition. Still a great one to have in the 9.8, similar to the Batman Beyond where it's like a Fox Kids book. That one's like WB Kids. I think when they first came out, they were just like, you know, they never thought anything of it. Maybe we're handing them over to the kids, and the census shows that this one's real tough in the 9.8 as well. So saw one sell for $3,150, and that was a direct edition, not a newsstand edition. But if you're the biggest Harley Quinn fan, Batman Adventures 12 is the one to get. And I think, yeah, right around 3,000 is kind of a fair value right now. Next one, really cool to see sell, a Spawn #1 black and white edition. Yeah, this is really popular among Spawn fans. Basically, this was like one of the only low-printed Spawn comic books from the 90s, pretty much. I think it was like a one-per-store variant that was released sort of in the late 90s, but it's become really collected over time. And the main reason is because Spawn was so popular in the 90s, it was heavily printed. This is like the only low-printed Spawn thing to sort of collect. So in the 9.8 white pages, this one just looks so crisp in the 9.8 white pages. Blue label too. This one was looking awesome for $2,544. Yeah, we made like some Spawn videos about a year or two ago recommending this one, and it was like 1,100, 1,200, and always had a good feeling about this one because of the rarity that it's going to trend up nicely. And yeah, 2,544 is pretty fair, I think, right now. Okay, next one was so cool to see sell, a Maximum Carnage #1 in a 9.8 white pages. This is one, it's pretty rare, pretty low printed for a 90s Carnage comic, very popular among Carnage fans. And you don't see a 9.8 hardly ever, so it was really cool to see this one sell for $3,545. I think that's a pretty good deal. I looked on the census, there's only 11 of these 9.8s. So if you're the biggest Carnage fan, I'm surprised it didn't go for a little bit more, given that, you know, Let There Be Carnage is out right now. I think $3,545 is a kind of a price target to aim for, to be honest, with this for this Maximum Carnage #1 9.8, a 1 of 11 collector item. That's pretty fantastic. Okay, I was curious to see just an Amazing Spider-Man 361 in a direct edition, kind of normal direct edition sell for a $756. So this is kind of right, the week or two that Venom 2 has come out in theaters, so there's probably a little bit of hype surrounding this book. $756 though, still pulling back from like 6 months ago prices, like when the trailer was released. This one heated up a little bit more. So, you could probably be patient on these Symbiote Carnage type of key issues. $756 right now. Maybe this direct edition gets closer to $600 over time would be my guess. So that could be a strategy for Amazing Spider-Man 361. Next one, Amazing Spider-Man 317. This one's just a great early Venom cover that is trending up very nicely. I got a nice raw copy of this one. Possibly 9.8able. Yeah, that could be one to send in. But 9.8 white pages, Amazing Spider-Man 317, selling for $433. Yeah, this is one, it was like $175 to $200, sort of pre-coronavirus. And it was one I sort of targeted but never ended up grabbing. Trending well now, $433. Yeah, right around $400 I think is a pretty awesome value for a good-looking Amazing Spider-Man 317 in the white pages. Okay, so next one, I didn't even bring mine out because I've been sort of off and on bringing them out quite a bit lately, but Amazing Spider-Man number 300. One sold in the direct, or a few sold in the direct edition, but a newsstand edition sold for Amazing Spider-Man 300 as well. So the directs, they ended up going for $6,100 and $6,500. And the newsstand edition, Amazing Spider-Man 300, 9.8 white pages, ended up going for $20,199. $138. So yeah, this newsstand edition of probably like the most popular 80s book, going for over $20,000. I'm pretty sure someone on the team had let me know that this one had reached sort of 24 to 25. Like the one before this went for 24 or 25,000, I believe it was. And I think that was about 6 months ago. Not too sure on that, but this is lower than it had been at, you know, a time in the recent past here. So maybe that's a decent deal. Yeah, 20,000. I remember it was right around when the coronavirus hit. Things hadn't heated up very much, but one of these popped up on eBay for about $6,000, I think it was. And that was just about 1.5 to 2 years ago. So now it's 20,138, trending well, super rare book. Yeah, definitely if you're the hugest Venom fan, you probably want to try to track down that newsstand if it's within your budget. I got 2 newsstand editions of Amazing Spider-Man 300 in the raw. They're kind of like fine, very fine, I would say, the grade. Okay, we'll move on here. Next one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures #1. Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on this book because you're seeing some prices on eBay that are pretty tempting for me on this one. But you know what? Maybe it's kind of, you know, trending back up from its recent pullback, because seeing one sell here in 9.8 white pages for $1,150. And, you know, in the last 3 to 4 months here, I've been tempted on this one in a blue label because I'm seeing some sell right around like $800, I think one sort of even went kind of in the $700, and that's a big pullback from where this one kind of flew over the $1,000 level. And this one as well, it didn't have the barcode on it, so it was just kind of the normal direct edition for this one for $1,150. Yeah, for myself, I got the Canadian price variant signed by Kevin Eastman in the 9.8 on this one, but I still want just a normal blue label. And maybe I should have dipped in there around 800 because, yeah, 1,150, a little bit more than 800, and yeah, we'll see if that price holds for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures #1. Yeah, just one I really recommend as a Turtle fan if you maybe already have the first issue or something like that. This is kind of the first appearance of the 4-color bandana Ninja Turtles, which is pretty much how I always knew the Ninja Turtles before I got more into comic books and realized that they were all red bandanas, and they were even black and white, no color basically before. So, okay, moving on here though. I saw Star Wars 42 in a newsstand edition sell. Yeah, first comic appearance of Boba Fett. You get a cameo of Yoda in this one. The Bounty Hunter issue. Yeah, this one's been collected forever. I do have one in a 9.8. I didn't bring it out in a 9.8 white pages, but a direct edition. So the newsstand edition, 9.8 white pages, sold for $4,411. That's, you know, seeming like a pretty stiff price. I'm pretty sure I've saw them go less than, or right around the 4,000, we'll call it. Certainly when Mandalorian hit hard, this one was like over 5,000. So it's pulling back a little bit. And yeah, you can maybe start thinking, like if you want a Star Wars 42 really bad, you can maybe start thinking about, you know, purchasing one and, you know, being on top of your searches, because it was really hot during the Mandalorian phase and hype, but cooling down a little bit, you get a more of a fair price right now. But yeah, that newsstand edition, Star Wars 42, going for $4,411. Okay, I saw Batman Vengeance of Bane sell for $562. Yeah, that's a great price, and I'm on the record as really loving this book. I got one too, didn't bring it out, just quite a few books to bring out today. But Vengeance of Bane selling for $562 is yeah, that's a great fair value. Yeah, you see these kind of sometimes go for around $700, anywhere under $600. I think it's probably one of the best purchases to buy right now in 9.8 comics, one of the better values. Okay, next one was a cool one. Amazing Spider-Man 265 in a newsstand edition. This is first Silver Sable. I was sort of keeping my eye on this one because I loved like the centering on it. It was just perfect centering, looked like a perfect book in the more rare newsstand. Like, I was kind of thinking, you know, maybe I should throw in a bid on this one. I didn't end up throwing a bid, but it sold for $716. So that's a pretty big markup over the direct, which I think kind of sells around $300. But this one was looking really good. I think $716 was totally worth it, given the centering, how awesome this one looked. And yeah, Silver Sable's got some potential too. I think there's been some rumors, but I don't know if there's anything confirmed with Silver Sable, but there's some potential. And yeah, I think the newsstand edition Amazing Spider-Man 265 at $716 is a pretty great buy, especially that one specifically with the perfect centering. Just it was looking really awesome, that one. Okay, I saw an Ultimate Fallout #4 in the 9.8 sell. First print, good to always keep an eye on this one. $2,677. in this Comic Link auction group. This one had really flew over 3,000 for a bit there. 6 to 8 months ago, there seemed to be quite a lot of Miles hype, and this one was sort of reaching its peak. If you're the biggest Miles Morales fan, maybe you can think about buying this one now on a pullback. I'd still kind of, it's tough because at any point, maybe those Into the Spider-Verse 2 movies could really heat up, and then this one could go right back up to that 3,000 level. But if not, this one still might cool down a little bit to under 2,500. There's a lot of these in Ultimate Fallout 4, and I'm pretty sure some on eBay have sold right around that 2,500 level. So you might be able to be patient on this, get it under 2,500, but maybe not too patient because, once those Spider-Verse 2 sort of rumors and hype and trailers drop, I think this one does well, again, in that type of environment. Okay, next one is such a cool one. An X-Men number 104. Yes, this one is first cameo of Starjammers, and you get an X-Men number 1 cover homage on this one. This book specifically was like very well centered. It just looked awesome. Like, just one I would absolutely love to have in my collection. In a 9.8 white pages, looking so good. Sold for $2,777. All things considered, I think that's a great value. Yeah, it's expensive, but there's not a lot of these. First cameo, Starjammers, awesome X-Men number 1 homage. $2,777, right around that kind of Ultimate Fallout 4 price level. Like, clearly, Ultimate Fallout 4 is not anywhere near as rare as an X-Men 104. So it kind of gives you a good idea of like one in the modern age, but an old one that's so cool that's the same price that you could still buy, which is a lot of the dilemma for collectors out there. Where do I put my money in a cool modern or maybe an awesome old one where there's not a lot on the census. So yeah, that X-Men 104 going for a $2,777 was just looking awesome. Okay, next one. I should really be talking about this one a lot more. X-Men number 101, origin and first appearance of Phoenix. A great 9.8. Yeah, if you're just an X-Men fan, a Phoenix fan, this is the one to get. In a 9.8, sold for $6,023. I think this one, it hasn't really trended up too much, like a lot of other books lately. And, maybe that Dark Phoenix movie came out and it heated up then. And then ever since then, it's been on a bit of a downtrend. But I think right now, there's no hype or anything like that. And this is just a great big first appearance and a pretty rare one. And obviously, it's really expensive. But if it's within your budget, origin and first Phoenix is one of the biggest X-Men books you can buy. And it, ended up selling for $6,023. All right, next X-Men one I do have. X-Men number 121. First full appearance at Alpha Flight. Classic Dave Cockrum cover. This is just an awesome 9.8 that I was very lucky to grab a few years ago. So the one that sold on Comic Link was an off-white to white page one. So this one's a nice white page issue, but it ended up selling for $2,151 in an off-white to white page. So maybe that white page one is like $2,300, $2,400. So this one, that's pretty crazy. I picked up mine before coronavirus. It was $550. Yeah, $550 US dollars. Even back then, it was a good deal. Yeah, I think most of them, even back then, were kind of going for $700. One popped up in Canada. It looked so good, so I just definitely wanted to at least throw in an offer, and he ended up accepting. Yeah, so it just goes to show you, sometimes rather than thinking about what show or movie's coming out, just buy a big key that's pretty limited, and that's an awesome collector item, and it doesn't, a show doesn't have to happen, or, a movie or nothing like that. And it still goes up in price just because it's such a great collector item. And this one pretty much 4 times in price compared to where I purchased mine about 2 years ago. So yeah, and there's a lot of potential with Alpha Flight. So this one's a pretty cool one to think about. Certainly if you're an Alpha Flight fan, and or if you're just a big X-Men fan. Yeah, this from the John Byrne era of X-Men comics, which is just probably one of my favorite eras of comic books, period. Okay, next one. Always cool to see this one too. An Uncanny X-Men number 129 in a 9.8 cell. This one was a direct edition, so it's kind of got the little flick through the UPC box. Sold for $4,551. This is probably like, getting on maybe my favorite cover of this era. Just so memorable, this Uncanny X-Men 129. This is one I almost purchased like 2-3 years ago when I first got into the hobby, but I didn't. and it was like $1,100 or something then. $4,551 now. It's a really rare one in the 9.8. The 9.8 ratio is like 8% or 9% of all graded copies are 9.8. So that's why it's so expensive. It's really tough to find in a high grade. But yeah, maybe a little bit closer to 4,000 if you want this one and you're trying to be a little more patient, get a better deal. Okay, next one I do got too, and saw a newsstand version of this one sell. Uncanny X-Men 221. First appearance of Mr. Sinister in a newsstand version on this comic link auction had sold for $950 it was. So just looking pretty much like this. Mine looks really nice too, and this one that was up for sale was looking pretty awesome as well as far as centering and colors and everything. So $950 first Mr. Sinister. I think I think there's some potential with Mr. Sinister. Possibly going to be in the next MCU X-Men movie. So yeah, you know what? Under $1,000 for the more rare version of Uncanny X-Men 221, I think is a pretty decent value right now. And yeah, I think that's a target to aim for if you're in the market for this one. Under $1,000 on an Uncanny 221 newsstand, 9.8 white pages. Okay, next one here. I got a few of these. I didn't bring them out, but cool to see it sell. A Wolverine number 88 in a CGC 9.8 sold for $450. Yeah, so this one's still, holding its value. This one's been on a bit of a roller coaster from, I really made some videos and loved it as like $100, $150 9.8 when it was that about a year and a half, 2 years ago. This one went all the way up to almost pushing $1,000, like $800 to $900. Some of the sales I saw, and that was 6 to 8 months ago, maybe. Pulling back to $450. I think right around $400 is, even maybe a little bit less. You'd want to think about this one. I don't think it's worth getting up toward that $1,000 level. So Wolverine 88 can aim closer to $400, I think, in a CGC 9.8. Okay, last one here. So this wasn't recently from this batch of auctions that had just ended yesterday and the week before. Some of these had ended. But an Incredible Hulk 181 CGC 9.8. And I just noticed it on the Comic Link site, so I'd kind of just throw it in the video here. In August, one of these had sold for $86,000. So Hulk 181, 9.8 white pages, looking pretty awesome. $86,000, and there was someone on the team that, it was 6 to 8 months ago or something like that. They were moving a lot of their collection to get one of these in the 9.8. I'm pretty sure they paid around $30,000. I don't want to say that for sure, but I'm pretty sure this was kind of $30,000 to $40,000. Let's call it, 6 to 12 months ago, let's say. So, for good reason, it's trending up. Cool, and I believe that was a record. In August, Hulk 181 CGC 9.8 white pages selling for $86,000. First Wolverine in the top grade. I mean, if you got a long-term time horizon on that one, I could see that being $1 million book, in 10 or 20 years. That's one, occasionally on the channel I'll say like, some of these 9.8s can become like a Picasso or a Van Gogh, where like you see some sell and it's like, oh, $30,000 for a Van Gogh painting. Like, eventually, I think a Hulk 181 in a 9.8 is headed in that sort of league where like just the super rich are, playing basically with their money at that point. Okay, full list there. Yeah, I thought we're just seeing some really interesting prices on this Comic Link auction, so thought I'd make a video. And I think moving forward, this will be a good idea. I don't know why I didn't do this before, to be honest. I usually just follow eBay really close because that's where I purchase most of mine, but I think keeping an eye on these Comic Link batch of auctions now will be some pretty good videos moving forward, hopefully. All right, team. Yeah, hopefully got some ideas and some good information there. Thanks so much for watching. As always, I'll see you on the next one.